the thing where like, they're like, oh, what, why do you think Colby's getting it? And you're like, because he's white. I don't think I've seen a person who had a better week while not fighting than you did 2 weeks ago. Right. Like you, dude, I don't know if you were doing that on purpose, but you killed it, dude. Your profile exploded, man. When the Colby replacement thing happened and all that, that was excellent work.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting there trending and I was getting people like, it was finally like the tides were turning in my favor too. And it was like, I was getting my friends like, hey, bro, I mean, people are like coming to your side now. And I was like, all right, let's keep this going because, there's a fight every other week. You're forgotten about right after your fight. So it's like, you have to make yourself known and have to stay in the fans' eyes every single week because they're going to forget about you unless you're fighting.
Yeah. I don't know what, like, so I never really used Twitter a lot, until like, my YouTube blew up and I just basically focused primarily on YouTube. And then, so I'm like, all right, I should probably do Twitter more. Dude, Twitter thinks that like, I want to hear every single thing from you and Ali Abdelaziz, like both of your guys' Twitter. Every time you guys tweet, it's all Belal said something, Ali said something, and you guys are the only ones, like just the two of you. I get an alert every single time you guys tweet, dude. Actually, Jake Shields sometimes too, but not as much as you guys.
Jake Shields' Twitter is so high. Like I'll go just see what Jake Shields said today because I know it's gonna be something crazy.
I'm saying, dude, he is Mr. Relevant, dude. He stays relevant in the mix, man. He's like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, dude. Like I thought the way that all played out, because I always watch these conversations that the community has and like the analysts and whatever, people who don't actually have any say on who gets title shots, etc. And I'm always fascinated by the way that they think. They're like, well, this guy deserves a title shot. This guy deserves a title shot. This guy, it's like, right. But everyone knows what the actual criteria is. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not just like winning a bunch of fights. It's like win a bunch of fights and also be able to drive paper. That's why I was saying, I was like Belal whipped Sean Brady's fucking ass, dude. Like, that was like shocking. That was a great performance, by the way, dude. I definitely want to talk about that too. But I honestly thought in the last 2 weeks, you did more to elevate yourself towards your eventual title shot than you did even taking an undefeated fighter that everybody loved and just breaking his face.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, I mean, that's the game I play, and that's the game we're in nowadays. It's like winning's not just enough. It's not like they're not just going to give it to you because you're winning. You have to go out there and prove it. You have to earn it from the fans, honestly. You got to get the fans wanting to see you because in the end, it's all about money. Who's going to get paid the most? How are we going to make the money? We have a quota to meet. And they're not just going to get that by guys being quiet, not saying anything, and just keep it to themselves and hoping that they're going to get piled up the ladder just because, hey, I thought I earned it. Like, there's nothing in this game that I think people deserve. It's like, you go out there, you take it. Like, it's not just going to happen.
I totally agree with that. And the other thing too is like, okay, so let's say you had the belt right now. You want, and then Connor beats Chandler by knockout. Who do you want to fight?
Exactly, right? Yeah. The guy who's going to make you the most money for sure. And I understand that point of the view, and I understand that thing too. And it's like, I understand that game, and I'm not sitting there crying about it. But yeah, I'm just trying to play that game now too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the other thing is like you're doing exactly what you should do, which is like, dude, I've won 100 fights in a row. You know what I mean? Like, you know what's funny? Actually, I want to go back. I want to go back to the first fight that I watched of yours. Like, because I'm obviously an enormous fan of mixed martial arts. I have a fucking YouTube channel where I talk about it all day. But I'm also I'm busy, man. I have a lot of stuff going on, so I'm not like one of these guys that knows every single fighter on the card. Like 400 fighters. But I remember the first fight of yours that I saw, and the guy that you were fighting is one of the people who I can't remember, but I could tell you exactly what happened in the fight because it was your first fight was very memorable to me because it was the guy that you were fighting who was leg kicking he calf kicked you 100 times and you just kept smashing his face. I was like, bro, this guy's hands are ridiculously accurate and fast. And he just kept on leg kicking you and you just hung in there. I mean, you obviously won, but what was that guy's name? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Diego Lima.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And that fight was like literally it was the fight that I took before the Leon Edwards. I took Leon Edwards fight on 2 weeks notice, and it was like after all those leg kicks. So like when they called me for that fight on 2 weeks notice, I'm like, dang, let me see if my leg's gonna be okay to go because getting calf kicked, like your leg is gonna be sore for probably like 3 to 4 weeks afterward.
It might have been another fight though, because I think it was before that. Because I'd seen you fight a couple times before I saw the Leon Edwards fight. Dude, how was your eye after that? Like, how long? Like, so what was the prognosis on the eye? How long did it take before it was kind of better and functional?
It was probably like maybe like 2.5 weeks before like it was fully back to normal. Yeah, I was getting very bad. Like I couldn't open it until I got back to the hospital, and it was like 40 minutes drive, and then we had to get like stitches right under the bottom eyelid, and I had to like keep my eye open as this guy's putting stitches in my eye, and I was like, it was the worst thing ever. Yeah, and it was, the worst thing ever was just like losing the opportunity, because it was like knocking right on the door. If I beat Leon Edwards right for the title shot and your first main event, and just to lose the fight like that, and just to have people just clamoring and saying, "Oh well, you lost one round, so you're gonna lose the fight." That's what pisses me off the most out of all of that, because I'm like, there's 4 other rounds in this fight, and he won the round 10-9. It wasn't 10-8. I didn't get dropped. It was like fairly freaking just an easy round.
Yep. And honestly, so what's funny too is my memory of that fight, when because I obviously watched it. My memory of that fight was I was like, Leon like handily beat Belal in that first round, and I went back and watched it again, and it was way closer than I remembered it. Like I had concocted it to be much more one-sided than it actually was when I watched it again. And like I mean, look, dude, I go to a lot of the fights. I was like, speaking of which, are you going to Miami this next weekend?
Yeah, I'll be in Miami.
Nice, man. I'll be there. We're sitting, we're going with like the Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins coach. They're like a really close friend of ours. And so Dana got his tickets. So, I mean, I don't know I have no idea where we're sitting, but if we're going with the Dolphins coach, we'll probably be pretty close to you guys, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I'd say you probably be cage side for sure. Yeah. They have a section for you guys set. Yeah. I'll be cornering somebody, and then I'll be in the stands afterward.
Nice. Oh, who you got going?
I got Ignacio Bahamondes.
Who's he fighting?
He's fighting Trey Ogden. His opponent just pulled out, so now he got a new opponent. But he's like the 3rd or 4th fight on the card. This kid's a monster. Like one of the best strikers I've ever gone with in my life.
Man, that's fun. That's fun. Yeah, I was at the fight in Utah. The one where Leon, like head kicked Kamaru at the very end of the fight. And I only bring that up just because he had an exceptional first round, and then he got dominated for 4 rounds until he kicked. Like, so him winning the first round against you, that doesn't really tell you anything about how the rest of the fight was going to go in a 5-round main event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I tell people that all the time, especially for a guy like him, who's, like you said, you just went through it. Like, you won the first round, then you got dominated, then you ended up winning in the last 30 seconds of a fight. So I tell people anything can happen in any fight. We've seen it a million times. The Adesanya fight, he was beating Pereira the whole time, and then all of a sudden Pereira knocks him out in the last 30 seconds. Like, you zig when you should have zagged. Like, there's nothing guaranteed in this sport at any point. Like, winning 1 round doesn't mean you're going to win anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is the craziest sport ever, man. I love it more than anything. I love this sport more than anything in the world, because it's like you just like, it's the implications of success or failure are so astronomical because I love it. Like, obviously I'm like, I train. I used to do a lot of kickboxing. Now I train only jiu-jitsu because I'm old and, I don't want to get kicked in the face, but like, it's not, but it's honestly, it's like it's partially about just loving martial arts. But more than that, it's like, I'm a husband. I have 3 kids. I've gone through it in my career where I was super high, and then I've gotten my dick kicked in. And it's like, there's nowhere where you can, as a spectator, be watching someone literally have their life on the line. And then the success or failure of this tiny little bit of time is going to have this astronomical impact on their life. And so they're literally fighting for their lives in there. And if you can really like wrap your brain around that and watch it and just that's why when people boo at these things, I want to throw people out of their fucking chairs when they boo, man. I can't stand it.
Yeah, like, man, you hit it right on the nose. People just don't understand how much work and just even pressure go into every single fight. Like, our second check is on the line every single fight. Our second, that's our livelihood right there. That's how we make our money. We fight, we bleed for our money, we sweat for our money, and that's not even counting the blood, sweat, and tears we're going into camps. Like, I'm training every single day now, and I have no fight, and I'm putting that work in every single day. My body's taking a toll. It's breaking down, and I literally don't know when I'm going to get my next check. And I'm still having that mindset of it's okay because I know it'll be worth it in the end. Yeah. And for a guy like me who's on this long winning streak, 8-fight winning streak, people don't know how hard that is because all it takes is one wrong move and you could lose a fight in an instance. And for people just don't respect it and really get it unless they were actually in the sport or actually competed in any type of sports.
Dude, it's a game of millimeters. It's like, and if you really like, when I talk to people who are like people who have experience in professional sports but aren't fight fans, so they kind of will get. I'm like, just think about it like this, dude. If you are an absolutely perfectly executed technique on your feet, is you move back just enough to where a person's punch is 1 millimeter short of your chin so that you can come back and hit them while they're forward. And just think about if you're off by 1.5 centimeters, you're unconscious. You know what I mean? It's like it's just so crazy. And the person who's throwing a punch at you is the most highly trained assassin in the world. And that's what these guys sign up for. It's like, I've turned a lot of people into fans just by talking to them about it,
Yeah. And I tell people too, I'm like, bro, it's like, imagine you're playing basketball or something, you're winning the whole game, and all of a sudden they can win with one half-court shot in the last second. That's every day, every freaking second for a fighter. Like, I don't care what the scoreboard says. If there's time on the clock, there's time to win. Totally.
I'm trying to think of what the craziest turnaround knockout. I mean, it could be the Leon and Kamaru fight in Salt Lake City, but also, I mean, if Nate Diaz would have knocked out Leon, think about that now, dude. Think about that now. If Nate would have knocked out Leon, just think about the whole. I mean, Kamaru's probably still champion. Who knows who would have fought him? You might have gotten the last shot, actually.
Yeah, literally. I was like, I always think about that every day because I was in Utah too when he got knocked out, and I'm sitting there like, man, where would I be right now if he didn't land that head kick, or if Nate Diaz ended up knocking him out, or even if the judges this last fight they picked Kamaru because it was a very close fight.
It was close.
Nowadays with judges, you never know who they're thinking or who they're going to pick. So there's no rhyme or reason for anything because it could have went to Kamaru and it would have been plain sight that I would have been next in line because they're not going to give Colby the third shot.
Yeah, dude. So, okay. So let's do this because I have this written down. I was like, I got to remember to ask him this. Okay. So right now the welterweight landscape looks like this to me. You have Leon Edwards, who's a champion. It sounds like they're targeting UFC 291 for him and Colby to fight, which I believe would be in July for International Fight Week, unless I'm getting that wrong, but it's 291 that just came out. So let's assume that they throw money at Leon and he's like, okay, fine, I'll fight him. My personal opinion is that the reason they're trying to drive that and they're going to try to get it signed this week is because what they're actually after, at least as a miracle, moonshot, is if Masvidal does beat Burns, they can do a Colby versus Masvidal title fight just because, but again, Masvidal knocking out Burns seems like, I mean, I don't know. That would be insane. That would be equivalent to when he threw a knee into Askren's face in terms of everyone's reaction to it. It would be like, no way, man. But honestly, so let's assume Colby and Leon fight, and let's just for argument's sake assume that Masvidal does not beat Burns. Who are you rooting for in the Colby and Leon fight if you knew that you were going to get the next shot? Or just throw out maybe you have to fight Shavkat or anybody else. Who would you root for in that fight? Who would you rather face?
For me, who I would rather face, it would be Colby, just because I've been wanting to fight him forever. And, in the words of Nate Diaz, you're taking everything I worked for. So, for a guy like that who sat out for a whole year and they just comes in and they just give him the title shot, it just pisses you off because to me, it's I was asking for that fight. I wanted to fight him on the undercard as a co-main event in London in March, and he turned it down. So, for me, that would be the guy that I want to fight for sure.
That actually brings up an interesting point too. So so this is exactly what happened with Leon and Masvidal, right? Where Leon wanted to fight Masvidal. One of the most gangster predictions I've ever made was when Colby was fighting Kamaru the second time and Leon was scheduled to fight Masvidal in the following event. I've been on this train forever. I'm like, they're trying to set up a title fight between Masvidal and Colby because that'll blow the roof off everything. And I was like, and when Colby lost to Kamaru the second time, I literally went on, I did a live stream. I was like, watch them cancel the Masvidal and Leon fight because they don't want to risk Masvidal taking a third straight loss because they need to be able to sell that Colby and Masvidal fight. They're not going to risk him getting a third loss against Leon. And 2 days later, they're all undisclosed injury. Masvidal's out. So but again, in the same situation, kind of where it's Leon wanted to fight Masvidal forever and he blew him off. And now Leon's in a, like, basically, if you got into a position where you had the belt and now somebody who has been blowing you off forever, they want to fight you, are you more inclined to give them the shot knowing they want them so you can whip their ass, or tell them to fuck off because it'll piss them off that they don't get the shot?
No, yeah, I'm gonna tell him. Yeah, I feel like basically it's where exactly where Leon was. Where 3 years ago he was right where I'm at, where he was tweeting. Nobody wanted to fight him. He was like, "Oh, they're not giving me my shot. They're not giving me my this," and he was tweeting out like, "Oh man, I can't wait till I'm champion. I'm gonna change everything." And even now, still now that he's a champion, it's like he's not mentioning my name because, like you said, it's all about the who's gonna make you the most money. But
yeah,
that's where you were at, and you said, "Oh man, I want to fight the next best guy. Who's the guy who earned it? These guys are to give it to the deserving guy." And like he's not mentioning me at all because it is that stupid thing. Like you said, it's like you lie to yourself. Once you get to that top, once you get the checks coming in, it's gonna be like, man, who's gonna make me the most money? That's all I really care about.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this, dude. I was talking about this yesterday, where because Gaethje said the thing about if they gave Conor a title shot that he might just quit UFC. I mean, I know he doesn't mean it, but he said it, And yeah. I was like, you got to put this in perspective, dude. Like, imagine that you're the champion and they're like, all right, and Dariush is the next guy up. Like, you're literally talking about a difference of 1 million pay-per-view buys, like 1 million pay-per-view buys. And on a tiered system where, first 250, they don't get any, they get out the last, you basically get up to the tier on what you'd make with Beneil, and then you make another 150,000 buys. And over here, you're going to be at the top tier you're talking millions of dollars difference, like millions of dollars difference. So it's like, humans are always just going to operate under the incentive structure. The thing is, though, is like everyone is in the position you're in. And I actually don't think you're in the same position as Leon was before anymore. Like, I think after the last couple of weeks, like, your situation has changed dramatically, and like, and it's like people are in that situation until they take it from another guy, like, that's just the way it is, dude. Nate Diaz makes 40 and 40. He chokes Conor. He makes 10 million and he's the biggest star in the UFC. Masvidal is wherever he was at. He starches Till and then jump knees Askren and he's where he's at. It's like you take the hype from another guy. And there are certain guys I can look at and just go, all right, like, it doesn't matter who this guy starches. He's not going to be a star. But you have all the makings to be like because you can. There's like 8 different ways you can be marketed, and you're personable, you're good looking, you talk well on camera, and you're super fun to watch fight. Like, you just need to get in there with the right guy, win, and it'll happen for you, I think.
Yeah, when I'm looking at it, like you said, it took Masvidal forever. Then once he got that, all it takes is that one moment that changes your life. And for me, it's like just having that in the back of my mind. It's gonna come. Like you said, I think I could be a star. I do think I could be marketed in many different ways. Even for just being Muslim. There's when Khabib was a champion, it was huge, and he was still Russian. But to have an American Arab Muslim, I think it could be even bigger than that, and it'll be humongous once I do get that belt. So for me, it's just waiting for that one moment. That's why I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the landscape, and I'm like, I do think it needs to be somebody that is considered the guy. And I think that Kamaru, ex-champion, he beat Colby twice. I think that fight makes all the sense in the world. He he was a guy that people consider the GOAT from the welterweight division. I go out there and, like you said, starch him, beat him dominantly. There's no denying me after that, right?
I agree, dude. I did right after Leon and Usman. I did a video about all the matchups they were going to make. And at the time, and this was actually before your the media tour, but nonetheless, I was like, I think they're going to give Belal either Shavkat or Usman, and it just depended. I know they threw out Shavkat. So how did that meeting with Dana and them go? I don't know if you could talk about it, but like, it seemed like that went well, right?
Yeah, it went well. For like you said, I wanted to just get an idea, a clear path of what's next, what do I need to do. Like, it's not like I didn't go in there with the mindset of let me cry and be, hey, why is he getting this? Yo, me. I'm like, bro, I want to be. You always say, hey, like, show me something that I can't deny you. And I went to Dana. I said, what do I need to do? That's you're gonna go to media and you're gonna tell me like, yo, this guy earned it. There's nothing that I can do that can say no to this guy. And we talked about it, and like, he wanted to sit there and he's like, all right, well, we can do this, this, and this, but we still have to wait for a couple things to happen out. But yeah, I thought it went well. for me as a fighter to be able to talk to Dana, to have a sit down with them, with your boss, and to see where they're all mindsets is, and to see how far they think I could go, or if they actually believe me or not. I like them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't see how anybody who watched, or has been paying attention could think that like there's an easy matchup. I mean, like you're a fucking terrible matchup for people. And I actually said this recently too, before I knew we were going to talk. So when I watch Rachmanov, everyone obviously, he had a great performance against Geoff Neal, but I saw a major like way that I think is like, if he's going to lose, I think it's going to be this. And I said, I think you're the guy who posed the most risk there. Like he's not going to watch this, I'm sure you saw it too, but like when he's so offensive minded, he's sitting there with his head like this dead center and he does not move it. Like he's just boom, boom, boom. I'm like, dude, he's going to get starched by a hook that he doesn't see. And like, if you look at the guys at welterweight, like who's going to sit in the pocket, throw a nuclear hook, I think you and Burns are the guys most likely to clip his chin while he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, everybody has their weaknesses. After watching that fight, we got more tape on him. But for me, it's kind of like in the same scenario where I was with Sean Brady. It's like, you're going to give me a guy that's 15-0, a guy that everybody thought could be the champion, a guy that, was the strongest guy in the world. And then it put me sideways. Like you said, it didn't go nowhere after beating a guy like that, because people are like now like, oh, well, Sean Brady's not that good. And for a guy like Rachmanov, he's not like a Kamza where he speaks English and you're going to get all that hype from the people that are not casual fans that are going to want to tune in just for that. Like the real fans know he's really good. He has a great thing, but it's the buildup. I think the buildup needs to be there. And I think for me, it's like for Leon, I think they tried when they gave him a Nate Diaz, where they're like, let's try to build him up with an Nate Diaz. But Leon just doesn't know how to talk. He doesn't really know he doesn't like media or anything like that. So like he really gained nothing from that fight, especially with the last round where he almost lost, and Nate Diaz fans think that he lost. But so for a guy like me, I think I just need that one name, and I think Kamaru's that name, that ex-champion, or even maybe a Gilbert Burns if he goes out there and he starches Masvidal. Gilbert Burns he was chirping back and forth with me saying, why did I take why am I ranked above them and things like that? And I was like, bro, you're fighting 11 and then now you're fighting 12. I know they're big names, or Masvidal's a big name, but he's still number 12 and he's at a 3-fight lose. So don't tell me you deserve to be above me or number one contender because you beat Masvidal. Yeah.
Those numbers, and what's funny, those numbers, they don't actually matter when it comes to the title shot. It's like if you're in the top 5, it comes down to like the criteria that the UFC decides. But I am 100% with you on the Usman fight. That's your fight, dude. That's because to your point, like, and I hadn't even really thought about this because like, I'm usually pretty good at that, like kind of playing it out with the math. And with Shavkat, the problem that I didn't even think about until you said it is like, you're right. Like those guys where I can objectively look at them and be like, this guy's a fucking monster. And so can all the hardcore fans that know anything with the public. Exactly like what you said about Brady. Like you beat him and they're like, oh fuck, well, okay, he wasn't shit anyway. You're like, that's totally true. That's exactly how that's with Usman. They can't say anything about that win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then Usman's already beating everybody. Especially if Colby wins and I go out there and I beat Usman, that's like Usman beat him twice. So there's no denying me after that. He's beating Gilbert. So like, even from that perspective, it's like, who are you going to give Usman next after losing the belt? There's really nobody else that makes sense for him in general, but me, because I'm the guy that he hasn't fought yet. I'm a guy that's been knocking at that door for so long. And for him, I mean, like his last fight was close. It wasn't like Usman's, he looks like he's fallen off as a champion or anything, or he's taking these steps backwards. He could have won that fight against Leon Edwards. So if he wants to get back into the mix, especially if Colby ends up beating Leon, a win against me will get him for sure a fight against Colby 100%.
You're exactly right. And honestly, but that is the argument for why Colby deserves the shot, right? Is like, aside from him just being marketable, it's like his last fight against Usman was razor close and Usman ran through everyone else and Colby, because like I was thinking about this too. Like, so the guys who are making the argument that he doesn't deserve it, they're like, look at who he's beat and look at where they're ranked. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter where they're ranked now. Where were they ranked when they fought? And I didn't do a bunch of research to really see what that answer is. But like, I think the reason why it's him is because the fights with Kamaru were so close and he's been so dominant against everyone else. But now that, if assuming that the Usman fight is the one, and I'm just kind of playing this out, thinking about how, because the fight that really matters is the one after you win the title where you're getting pay-per-view points. So it's like, so if they do you and Usman, I don't know, sometime in the couple months post or maybe, dude, what if they put that on the same card?
And that's what I would hope for, because like I don't think he really took any damage in that Leon fight. There was really nothing but leg kicks and body kicks. And if Leon's making that quick turnaround in July, I don't see why Usman can't.
Yeah, and that's a great co-main, dude. That's a great co-main. And then so then if you win that and you guys turn that around, and then let's say it's Colby and then you win, man, you could, I'm saying if Conor starches Chandler, they will, like, if he really, really, like, if he looks fantastic at 70 and beats Chandler, they're going to be itching to give him a title shot,
Yeah, 100%. And that's why for me, it's like, I got to get out there now. Because if I go out there now and I beat a guy like Usman, and, if Colby ends up winning, and then we do something in October in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they're going back there then. I fight for the title back then. And then, Conor gets his win out the way. They haven't really had a date on him, but I'm assuming maybe September, maybe even October, December. Yeah, for sure. If he goes out there, beats Chandler, why not? That would make all the sense in the world.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on how. I'm sure USADA is going to give him the UFC will give him the exemption, obviously. But what did you think about that when USADA came? So, I'm sure you saw this, where Conor went on Ariel's show and he said the thing, Ariel asked him about the USADA situation. He kind of was looking over and he's all, I think it's just a clean test, and then two tests. And then right after they cut that out of Ariel's interview that they posted, and then USADA posted, I've never seen them do that. USADA posted that thing on Twitter, and they were like, it's our position that Conor needs to have 6 months clean testing. And I did a video about it. I'm like, dude, I bet you Dana was kicking their door in on that, dude. Like,
yeah, for sure. Cause that's just so much money that they would lose if they're wasting their time. And then, like, if they're fighting back and they're like, now they're going to bring that extra attention on Conor. So I can only assume they're going to make him freaking get tested once a week, twice a week, if they want to have that moment, like, where they want to catch him, I feel like, or something like that, just to show USADA, like, hey, so we do work, because everybody's coming at them now, like, when's the last time anybody's got caught? When's the last time anybody's popped for roids or anything like that? What is USADA here for? So if they go out there, catch a guy like McGregor, obviously that'll be, we are here for a good reason.
Yeah. Who is the last person that they popped? Like, I feel like, because I've been watching them, like, there must be some new designer shit that they don't test for. So just because it's so, like, it's been so long since someone popped that I'm like, that either there's something going around that they don't test for, or they're just like not seriously testing. Or you would think, right?
I think I know they do. They're not allowed to, like, announce positive tests nowadays. I think you get the you get the call, then they'll like let you know. Then I think you can fight it behind the scenes, but they don't announce it until, like, all the investigation is done after you get popped.
Yeah.
But I know there were some younger guys that just got popped recently, but not a big name in a while.
And Dillashaw retired after that last fight, huh?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because if they don't have to announce it, he's like, yeah, I'm retired for 2 years again.
Exactly. And if that had me thinking too, because I'm sitting there like, maybe he wanted just one last shot at the title, then be gone, and then all of a sudden your shoulder pops out. You're obviously probably taking something just to get through the camp and get through to the fight, and then, all right, you guys keep it on down low. We won't say it's such a big name, and I'll retire. You guys don't have to kick me out or anything like that.
Dude, what happens if you win? Pop hot, I guess it turns into a no contest, because I was going to ask about the win bonus. Like, can the UFC claw it back if you pop dirty?
I don't. Depending on how much money you have, I think when they found Nick Diaz popped from, like, weed, I think they asked for some money back. I'm not sure, but I don't think they'll take your win bonus away if you pop hot now.
Interesting. Dude, I don't know, man. Like I'm always kind of like a student of the entire game in terms of like, how can a person kind of maximize value in each of these events? Like stuff like, when Dustin had the thing with Conor and they asked him, well, what about Conor now? And he's like, I don't care about that anymore. I'm like, why would you say that? You know what I mean? Of course, like you don't have to actually care, but if the microphone's in your face, you say, it's a blood feud, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Especially Dustin. Like I would, if I'm Dustin, I'll fight Conor every day of the week. Especially, Conor wants that one back 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like the thing where like, they're like, oh, what, why do you think Colby's getting it? And you're like, because he's white. And then everybody got all bent out of shape. I'm like, dude, you should lean into that shit. You know what I mean? It's like everybody who knows it's not a thing, but it's like, dude, because Colby had like, he proved the fucking heel thing really works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But for me, it was like when I did it, and I was like, man, you ever watched that movie, The Great White Hope with Damon Wayans?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I wanted to like post that part and be like, this is what I was talking about. But like people are, like you said, nowadays with Twitter, everybody's just trying to cancel culture and like, oh, you're racist and stuff. Like, bro, like when's the last time the UFC had a white champion? Like, obviously that would sell in America. With what is the genre of people that are watching fights? It's probably like 19 to 35 white males that want to see it. So I think that they would want a white male like Colby to be a champion, and he's getting 3 shots out of his last 5.
Yeah.
Fights, so
it's funny though, his interview after that, where he was like, where he acted all like appalled. He's like, that was so funny, dude. Because I'm watching, I'm like, oh, sure, he's that mad about that, dude. Like, sure, he like it was a pretty good performance, knowing that he's completely full of shit. Like it was pretty good, dude. It's pretty good.
Bro,
he does a good job now.
And he's like about to cry, and I'm like, bro, what is this guy talking about right now? Like the stuff that this moron says is like the stupidest things ever.
He's like, imagine if I said something like that. That'd be the end of Colby. I'm like, bro, I'm pretty sure that you said things like that to Tyron Woodley. I thought it was hilarious at the time, and I think this is hilarious. Like, it's like all of it, anything that builds conflict, I think is great, dude. Doesn't even matter if it's real or fake. But like, that's why, in my opinion, the Khabib and Conor. Speaking of which, I'm going to ask you about that actually, instead of saying the thing I was going to say. So there are rumors floating around that, like obviously this thing happened with Eagle FC where they're kind of, whatever. And they've got Makhachev saying that he, for whatever reason, doesn't seem like he wants to fight at 55. Like he took a 45er and then now he wants to move up to 70. And everyone's kind of like, I mean, he hasn't defended his belt once against a 55er, which seems kind of bizarre that he wants to go up. And the rumors that people are starting to say, they're like, is Khabib coming back, or like why is he trying to leave 55 so bad? And Khabib seems like he's got something going on in the backdrop. What do you have to say to that? Oh, and are you still training with those guys? Like with that team?
Yeah, for sure. Once I get a fight, I'm gonna be going out there. I was gonna be going to Dagestan when I thought I was gonna be fighting in March, but now they're coming down to California in May, so they'll be at AKA. So I'll be down there for a couple of weeks training with those guys. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think that Makhachev's trying to come to welterweight yet. He has been saying that he's waiting for he wants to give Beneil Dariush a shot, but obviously it would be a big money fight if he did move up to welterweight and he got his title shot right away, and he just beat the 45 champ, now the 70 champ, and he's big enough to do it, I think, and I think that he would beat Leon Edwards pretty easily, but I don't think it's because Khabib's coming back. I just think that Makhachev's just trying to get the biggest opportunities because people they'll still look at him as like the Khabib shadow for the most part, and he's still just waiting for that shine of his own. And he has a great personality himself. He's such a funny dude. He's such a cool dude, and he's so good that I think eventually it's gonna come. But for the most part, I think he's just like trolling a lot of people too.
Fair enough. Do you think because Khabib's ability to I think of all the fighters literally in the history of the UFC, I think Khabib's fight game is the most underrated. And what I mean is like the outside the cage stuff, like hyping fights, like digging into like to the conflicts and stuff. Now, obviously the one with Conor seems like it was completely real, but other stuff, where, I mean, before the Conor thing, he knows to get on the mic and call out all of Ireland when he's got the Tony Ferguson fight, he kicks his belt off the stage, which seems very out of character. And I'm like, dude, he's a master of the promotions game. He's not like tripping over his dick and this happened. And like, he's exceptional at this. And and the fact that people didn't really recognize it is what made it even more impressive. You know what I mean?
Bro, man, I'm telling you, he's so smart. He's smart everywhere in the game. And he always like tells Islam a couple times when we were training, Islam's cutting weight and he's tired and they're like, oh, you got to do this interview. And Islam's like, I'd rather another interview. Then Khabib's like, oh, you don't like to do interviews? You don't like attention? Then lose. Like, when he says those things, it's like he knows what he's doing with everything that he does. Like all these little details stuff. I think that he's a genius when it comes out. It's kind of like John Jones, where he makes these little picks and says these little things and quirks about his opponents. And I tell people like, bro, these are all little steps. These are all little traps he's setting for you in the end. And I think Khabib does kind of like the same stuff.
Yep. Yeah, John Jones is amazing at it too. Like John Jones will go all the way to having his friend run up on his house so he can chase him down with a shotgun down the garage and be all, oh man, look at this. I chased off a robber. You're like, sure you did, dude. Sure.
Bro, I'm gonna put it. I swear, like I'll be thinking about that stuff too when stuff like that happens. I'm looking at these people like, for sure, these guys are doing it for that, and it is like 90% of it is sometimes fake. I think.
Oh, dude, for sure. I think Kevin Holland's are real though. Like I think when he's like chase guys down, I'm pretty sure that those have been real. I think at least one. I don't know why.
I mean, when you got like five, when you got like 5 stoppages or whatever from robberies, I'm like, bro, like you just run into crying now.
Yeah, that's true, dude. I don't know why I believe his. That should be like the least that I believe because it's happened so many times, dude.
I'm like, bro, how many times is this gonna happen?
I don't know. I just remember because like at UFC, because I live in Austin and UFC Austin, I can't remember if he was fighting on that card or not, but like it happened the day before. I was like, isn't that like the 3rd time that he's chased down a thief? Like,
literally, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, one of the great regrets of my entire life that still eats me alive. This is from like 2007. I was walking up to my office in San Diego and this dude was beelining across the street and I heard this woman scream and I was like in a suit and I kind of like looked around like, what the hell's going on? And I was kickboxing then too. And I just looked and there was this guy beelining and I'm like, oh, he purse snatched her. And I just had this moment of like, what, like, how do I react to this? And then right then he jumped into this car that was waiting right there and they bounced. And man, I mean, dude, what's 2007, 15 years? That every time I think about that, I'm like, I could have got to that motherfucker. If I would have recognized it fast and just ran across the street, I could have got to him. But like, I want that one back, dude. I want a thief in the street so I can redeem myself for not lighting that guy up, or at least tackling him and taking her purse back. You know what I mean?
It's crazy what sticks in your head 15 years later, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's always those little stories that you have.
For sure, dude. So like, so what do you think? What the other thing I was going to ask you about? What do you think about, what about Izzy says that he's going to retire if he loses? A, what do you think is going to happen in that fight? And B, do you think he would actually retire?
I mean, I think that fight is going to be tough for him, especially, there's a stats that are like when champions lose a title fight by knockout or something and they get it right back. I think they're like 3-15 or 3-16. And I was like, man, these stats don't mean nothing. When Usman and Leon happened the 3rd time, I was like, oh, it's not going to happen because Usman dominated in that fight. But then seeing how it was, it's different. Once you get knocked out by somebody, your mental game is a lot harder to deal with. Like I fought Luque twice. I got knocked out the first time. The second time, there's a mental hurdle you got to go over. You're thinking about, man, is he going to knock me out? The first punch he hits me with, I can't get knocked out again. Like that's always in the back of your mind all the way until the fight's over with.
Dude, you put it on him in that fight, though. That was a great fight.
So then for this fight for Izzy to lose to a guy 3 times, twice in kickboxing, and then now in the UFC, when you almost had him, almost by decision, you almost had him a knockout in the first round. It's like, dang, does he have my number? Like, I'm sure that's always going to be in the back of his head. And Pereira is just so big. He's so good. He's so smooth with everything. And he's just getting more comfortable in MMA that I think he's just going to be getting better every single fight, growing every single fight. I don't really think there's much room for Izzy to get better other than wrestling and grappling. But wrestling and grappling, you're not going to get better than that in a 6-week camp or 8-week camp. Like you need a year to get fully better in wrestling. So I don't think his wrestling is going to be that much better than the first time, the last fight they just fought in. So if it's just going to be a straight striking match, I think I'm going to pick Pereira in this fight.
Me too. And just because, like, to your point, he's won 3 straight times, dude. That's like, it's just one of those things. Like if Izzy does win, and I think I don't even know what the line is, but I don't think, I'm not sure who's favored or whatever, but if Izzy is favored, which wouldn't surprise me, that seems crazy to me, just because it's like, dude, we've seen this movie 3 times. And each time, if he does win, that would be so impressive, man, to be able to overcome the mental hurdle of having lost this guy 3 times. The last 2 times by knockout,
Yeah, I mean, and if there's anybody that could do it, I think it is Izzy, because he was always that guy, like you said, where he wasn't the guy that was always looking for the money fight. He was always trying to fight who's the toughest guy. I'm going to fight the toughest guy that they think. And he was always fighting the next contender behind him. And he's fought so many styles, so many different opponents. And, he was dominant up until this Pereira fight. So if there's a guy that could come back and do it, I think it would be Izzy. But I don't know, man. I just think that Pereira has his number, man. I follow Pereira. This guy looks just like nuts, hungry. He's training with Glover Teixeira, and one of the best guys that you could train with and have as your mentor is Glover. So
yeah,
it's gonna be a rough night, I think.
He's a scary looking dude, man. I've never been around him in person, but I've been around Glover real close, and Glover's huge. So I have like a point of reference for how big Alex is with him standing next to Glover, and I'm like, Jesus, this guy must be a monster, dude. He must be enormous in person.
Yeah, when I saw him in person, and I was like, man, this dude is huge. And like, he's not like the nicest guy. And it's crazy because Glover is probably the nicest guy in the world. He's just so like personable and everything whenever he wants to talk to you. But Pereira just like quiet, just gives you like a mean look the whole time. You don't know if he's like wants to hit you or freaking wants to stab you or something.
He's scary. He is a scary looking dude, man. He's fucking enormous. Like that's the thing that blows my mind in terms of like what the weights that you guys get down to. Cause I'm like I'm 195 right now, and I get around like Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Makes 205, bro. So he's 10 pounds. He's so much bigger than me that it's like, it's ridiculous. Like I stand next to him, I'm like he used to fight at fucking 85. I'd have to cut 10 pounds to get to 85. He looks like he's a different species from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Like the weight cutting game in this game is so crazy. Like when you see how big some of these guys get outside of camps, it's nuts. For me, the biggest I'm going to get is like 190. And then when I'm dieting and I'm being healthy, like I'm walking around at 185. Yeah. So for my weight cuts, they're super simple, super easy. But like I've seen guys I'm looking at them and they're like, oh yeah, I'm like 215. And I'm like, you're cutting down to 170? Oh yeah. Yeah. It's no big deal. It's nothing big. And I'm like, all right, well, it's crazy when you see how big these guys are, and it's like you're taking a toll on your body, and you're not gonna have like a long career doing that, I don't think.
Dude, you can cut that. So to get down to 7, so let's say dude's 205, he's got to cut 35 pounds. Like it's still just the sweet sweatsuit, sauna, and just bike it out. It's just all water, just 35 pounds. That's how they do it. Because that seems like.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically for a lot of those guys like having that 6-week nutrition plan, and then that fight week you're drinking 2 gallons of water, so you're trying to trick your body, trick the mind, and once you cut out all the salts and all the carbs, if your body has a lot of muscle, you'll get a lot of water out pretty easily. Like my last fight, I think I started my cut at 183 on fight week, and then I did the whole water thing and everything like that, and then. Like I cut way more than I should have. Like I cut down to 165. Like it was like accidental because I took a bath for the first time and I never did a bath before. But like I was just assuming that I wasn't sweating because I was sitting there in a hot bath. But like I was overly sweating, I guess. And I weighed myself and I was like 165. This is crazy. And
that must have been awesome. You're like, I'm gonna go eat something.
Yeah, I was literally like, I want to go on the scale eating like a Snickers or like and see what happened.
That's awesome, dude. Nice, man. So what So if I was going to clickbait this interview, the way I would, because I clickbait the shit out of my title, I would say something like Belal Muhammad says he's going to smash every white dude, and then in parentheses named Colby Covington.
That's a perfect one.
Like I was saying, dude, Like that's honestly like that's how I think about all this stuff. Did you make content? Or do you have like a channel? You do content?
I do. I have like I have a podcast that I have. It's kind of like it's a game show where I just do like funny stuff where it's like I put like two fighter faces together and you have to tell me what it is. And then I have fighters that come on and they're like bring out their personality, because most guys, they don't like to talk. They don't like to just do regular interviews. So like when I have it a game show where this fighter against that fighter, you'll see their personality more because they want to compete. Every fighter wants to compete no matter what. Yeah. Look at guys that'll like give us prizes and stuff like Jordans or shoes or anything like that. So it's been fun. But for the most part, yeah, I'm working on trying to get a YouTube page and everything started. But it's just like the editing and everything just seems so hard. And I'm just trying to figure it out on my own.
Dude, I can help you do it if you want. Like, and I can show you ways to do it where I mean, not everyone couldn't do it like this, but you could for sure, where you actually won't have to edit. Like you have to be able to do it on one take, but like you'd be able to do it and make it real simple.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you want, yeah, hit me up. I'll show you how to do it. Like, because it doesn't need to be all. I mean, like Cejudo's got a fucking operation over there. Like he's like his is like he blew up super fast, but his content is super high quality. He got that ESPN guy over there doing his shit, But like,
yeah, his stuff is really good. And that's what makes you think that you need to be at that level, because you're like, look how good his is. And I was like, man, I want to match that, because like when he comes out with his stuff, it's so good and it's like very knowledgeable too. If you're a fighter or anybody that wants to watch it, listen to it. And I think I could bring something like that to the table too. But I'm like, yeah, I don't have that type of producer with me or standing in my room at all times.
And you got to pay those motherfuckers too.
Yeah.
Do it like me. Like I learned how to do every single thing because I'm like, I don't want to pay anybody. And so I just, but I also knew I could just talk nonsense and people listen, just, but yeah, dude. Well, this was fucking awesome, man. This is good. I'm going to put it up and then do you mind? Will you tweet it cause your Twitter is fucking enormous when I put it up?
Yeah. 100%.
Nice, man. How do I get, well, here, actually, I'm going to cut this off. Thank you, everybody. And then, and Belal, what's the name of the podcast?
Remember the show every Thursday nights at 8.